Obviously, what I'm about to say is what I believe based upon a lifetime of reading. Can I give you a document that what I say is so? No. Is what I say the truth? Yes. With that stated, the questions put before the Star Chamber were pretty simple. One, what is the direction of the country? Good or bad? Two, if the direction is bad, is regime change needed? Three, if regime change is needed, how urgently should that regime change be conducted? These are the questions they asked themselves, and these were the questions that had been presented to many heads of corporations, major banks, and world leaders. These are pretty innocuous questions, right? Nobody's calling for anyone to be killed. Regime change could signify a peaceful election, or maybe the leader could be convinced to step down. To be fair, the answer was overwhelming amongst these type of people. John Kennedy was bad for business. Regime change was required. Regime change was required urgently. These world leaders and members of the Star Chamber did not want to wait 5 years, which is what they would have had to have waited if John Kennedy was reelected. Given the difficulty of beating an incumbent, and given John Kennedy's popularity with the regular people, there was every reason to believe that he would be reelected. These men looked at the state of world affairs, and they did not like what they were seeing. Given John Kennedy's policy on Cuba, there was every reason to believe that the rest of the Caribbean rim would fall. His Alliance for Progress program was not what they wanted. Campesinos educated and prosperous, forget about it. The Star Chamber didn't like his position on Indonesia either, where they secretly knew the world's largest untapped copper and gold mines existed. In essence, everyone in the Star Chamber felt that John Kennedy was weak. From an operational standpoint, it would absolutely be necessary to include Dwight Eisenhower in the group that would decide John Kennedy's fate. He was a respected politician. He had the allegiance of military personnel. What Dwight Eisenhower thought carried weight with many Americans. In short, he was revered. He enjoyed an impeccable reputation at the time. He was a figure beyond reproach. To not include him and run the risk of having Dwight Eisenhower oppose you if you chose to take out the President of the United States or cover it up would be unthinkable. For that reason, Ike would have to be included in the group of elder statesmen who would decide John Kennedy's fate. He wouldn't take out the president if Dwight Eisenhower thought otherwise. And of course, Ike would vote to remove the man who was destroying his life's work. Dwight Eisenhower spent a lifetime building up the military-industrial complex. His goal, like many others, such as John McCloy, was an American empire. Why would he want to see his successor, Kennedy, tear all that down? He wouldn't, and he didn't. Dwight Eisenhower worked closely with Allen Dulles throughout the entire 1950s, overthrowing governments in order to establish a Pax Americana. Why would he suddenly stop at overthrowing another government, that being the regime of John Kennedy? He wouldn't, and he didn't. And when the Warren Commission findings came out, of course, Ike supported the findings through his silence. Ike had very little to say publicly about the Warren Commission. And now that's surprising, but not too surprising, as Ike was a quiet man. Eisenhower always preferred to operate behind the scenes and let others do the front work for him. That's how he took down Joe McCarthy. He did the same through the Warren Commission, as most of the men on it were Eisenhower men. To tell you the truth, Ike already knew what the conclusions were before it had even convened one day. In fact, he set the tone on the day Kennedy was shot. Eisenhower gave an interview sometime in the afternoon on 11/22/63. In his little talk, he said in so many words that the American people will stand as one man, faithfully behind the government, and that this assassination was the work of a psychopathic accident. In other words, fall in line with the government story. This assassination was not the work of sane men who conspired to kill the president. Now, you can watch the video online and you can form your own opinions. But in this video, it seems clear that Eisenhower is already urging us to support a narrative that the government will determine. Eisenhower comes off as sincere and heartfelt, and I truly believe that he was. I don't think Eisenhower's mind would allow him to believe for 1 second that he was somehow responsible for JFK's death. After all, the Star Chamber that called for regime change didn't necessarily authorize JFK's death. No, that was left to the CIA. I truly believe that Eisenhower had no knowledge of the impending assassination or the planning thereof. I believe he was truly surprised. Yet this does not exonerate him. Ike, after all, was a politician. He was a politician while in the military. He was a politician outside the military as president. He was a politician when he retired. Important to note that Ike was not a general who became a politician. He was a politician who became a general. Politicians don't think like the rest of us. They are a special breed of people. First, politicians lie and spin the truth for so long that they don't know that they're lying anymore. Hedging the truth is like breathing. Second, Eisenhower thought in terms of national security. He thought in terms of millions of people dying. You and I think on a personal level. If a bully exists in our neighborhood, we don't think of the bully as killing millions of people. We think on a personal level, in terms of ourselves. For that reason, killing the bully isn't a serious option for us. It isn't an option for us because we obey the law and are subject to the law. We don't want to be tried for murder. People on Eisenhower's level don't have to worry about being tried for murder because they control the levers of power. So when it comes to John Kennedy, Eisenhower and the other members of the Star Chamber framed JFK's fate in terms of national security. In this manner, Eisenhower ceases to think like a normal person. He rationalizes in his mind that John Kennedy is a threat to 150 million Americans and another 350 million around the globe who live in the free world. He rationalizes that it's okay to remove John Kennedy from power because by doing so, he's saving hundreds of millions of lives. That's why Eisenhower and the others conspired to take out the President of the United States and not bat an eyelash about it. Everything with these guys is framed in terms of national security, and that's the way it's been for the last 75 years. That's how they get away with their shenanigans. To cover that up, they present a kind, smiling face. And that's why you look at Eisenhower and say, oh, Ike looks like a kindly old uncle of mine. He would never do that. But he did. And he did it before, right after World War II was concluded, when he allowed 800,000 German soldiers to starve to death. That's right, 800,000 soldiers. That's a crime, my friend. It's hard to believe, but it's true. You don't know about it because your mainstream media, which is invested in Ike as a hero, doesn't discuss it. But that is the subject of another video. Out.